What is it, Dad?
I want to read you a Christmas poem I wrote. Doesn't that sound great?
No.
Too bad. Shut up, sit down, and listen. All right. Well, you both know Rudolph, Frosty, and Jack Frost so well. But there is another Christmas story that I'd like to tell. It's the story of Carl, a real special guy. Even though he had no magic hat and he couldn't fly. But Carl was kind and never ever mean. He loved giving to charity and watching Mr. Bean. He always paid his taxes and was kind to all animals. Carl's only little flaw was that he was a cannibal. I know what you're thinking. Eating people isn't fair. We should lock that guy forever or fry him in the chair. But Carl isn't evil. He's just misunderstood. And despite his appetite, his heart is pure and good. It's not his fault he does what he needs to survive. And just like you and me, he needs to stay alive. But let's leave Carl a moment and travel to the North Pole and visit a once jolly man who now has a troubled soul. It's Santa, kids, and the poor guy is stressed. He's been drinking too much and he's awfully depressed. His eyes are glazed and his beard is soaked in gin. And he's been sucking down candy canes made of peppermint vitamin.
Daddy, what's gin?
It's what Daddy drinks to make Mommy look pretty. So it was the day before Christmas and Santa was pissed because there were too many kids on both of his lists. He cried, "This year Christmas will go down in flames because my naughty and nice lists have too many names. I know I'll shorten my list by getting rid of some of the naughties, but who will I ask to dispose of the bodies?"
So, Dad, Santa doesn't like naughty girls and boys?
Well, that's what his attorney says anyway. After relaxing for a bit with a crack or two, Santa popped some Zoloft and knew just what to do. He laughed and said with a twinkle in his bloodshot eye, "For this kind of job, I am just the guy." Now say bye to old Santa with his whores and his pills, and let's revisit Carl at his cabin deep in the hills. He's baking a yummy casserole filled with Christmas cheer. He makes it from the many carolers that visit him each year. His Christmas tree twinkles with its festive lights, and in the freezer is a shopping mall elf still wearing his tights. Stockings hung by the chimney with Yuletide pride, and a delicious aroma in the air because of the feet still inside. With cocoa in hand and wearing tasty, snuggy socks, Carl sat and watched Scrooge on his magic picture box. He nearly fainted when he heard Celine Dion sing, but then Carl realized it was just his cell phone ring. It was Santa on the line saying, "Hey Carl, can you do me a fave? I'm sending Blitzen to pick you up. We've got a holiday to save." He replied, "Why me, Santa? I'm just a regular guy." Santa said, "Oh, Carl, I'll tell you why. Carl, with your amazing appetite, won't you help me save Christmas tonight?" So with a quick reindeer ride to North Christmas Town, Carl's appearance helped get rid of Santa's frown. It gave Carl the naughty list and his very own sled with a couple of flying reindeer and a Santa hat for his head. Carl was so happy, he nearly had a fit when Santa used his magic to make him a bottomless pit. Now he could eat and eat to his heart's content, so off on his new sleigh, off Carl went. He shouted to the heavens, "Merry Christmas to me!" And he looked like the world's happiest Yuletide zombie. Carl had never been as happy as he was on that sleigh, because now the entire planet was his own personal buffet. He ate tall people and fat people and more dwarfs than you could toss. Needless to say, he used miles of dental floss. After a night of eating bad kids of all races and ages, Carl finally checked the last name off the naughty pages. He returned from his mission and shook hands with the claws. Then Carl stepped back and said after a thoughtful pause, "I think there was a name left off the list that should have been written." And before Santa could reply, he had been repeatedly bitten. Carl gobbled him up till there was no more, except for the empty suit and boots lying on the floor. He took those clothes and quickly got dressed. "I've always wanted to be Santa," Carl confessed. Then he hopped back in the sleigh and flew off into the night, shouting, "Merry Christmas to all, I'm going out for a bite." So what do you think, kids?
Mom!